I'm Jack Drees. Welcome to this first episode and conceptual episode of CINEOLOGY. Why is it conceptual? Because this episode in particular was recorded back in April, 2 months ago. So some of the topics you're about to hear are outdated, a bit behind time, but at the same time, I think we will have a lot of fun discussing everything film and entertainment. You have me and my good friend, Millie Halprin, joined by my side as we blaze the trail. I also want to thank Melrose Massachusetts Television for helping make this project possible. I will be recording more episodes in the future, depending on time and how much of a success this becomes. Until then, enjoy this first and conceptual episode of CINEOLOGY. In a world where everyone is really bored and wants to watch a movie, one podcast is here to serve the people and discuss the latest, best, and even worst in the industry. That podcast is CINEOLOGY.
Hey, this is CINEOLOGY, the podcast where cinema gets explained. I'm your cineologist and host, Jack Drees, and we will be talking about movies, and more movies. Maybe we'll dive into some television, some behind-the-scenes stuff, some things about life. There's tons of fun to be had. And here are my co-hosts, Millie Halperin. How you doing today, Millie?
I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine. I just got my first COVID vaccine today. I drove an hour to Gardner, Massachusetts. That's a fun ride. How was your day?
Doing good. I recently joined a Star Wars blog called Holonet Marauders. You can find them on Twitter at Holonet Marauder if you're interested, and we also have a website, and that's all pretty much linked in the Twitter. So again, it is at Holonet Marauder on Twitter.
Awesome. Gotta support the peeps. Okay, so this is our first episode, so I want to go over the format. We're going to start off with what we watched recently, and it is exactly as it sounds. We're going to go over some of the things, maybe movies, maybe a TV show, something online, maybe something on streaming that we saw recently. It can be something we watched before, it can be something we watched for the first time, but if you watched it recently and want to talk about it, be my guest. So, Millie, I want to ask you, is there anything specific that you watched recently?
This week, I have watched the first two Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Okay.
Because of the Alfred Molina news that dropped recently for Spider-Man No Way Home. And we'll be talking about that news fairly soon. But yeah, in order to prep myself for that film, I watched the first two Spider-Man movies from that trilogy that came out years ago at this point.
And that was your first time watching it, I assume?
So I've seen clips from both films, but I've never watched the entire film in its entirety, actually, because I never actually owned a DVD of all three films. So I got a month subscription from Stars, and I basically took that as an advantage and watched them on there to support that streaming service, I guess, since streaming is so big now. So
Well, you better support it fast because all the Sony stuff is apparently going to Netflix pretty soon.
That's right. I think after No Way Home, that will take place. I think, I don't remember exactly what they said, but I know that it's going to be like pretty it's going to be in the near future.
I'm pretty sure Spider-Verse 2 will be on Netflix.
Makes sense, because if I remember correctly, I think Spider-Verse is still on Netflix. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I thought it left like at the end of 2020, but I could be wrong.
Really?
That's
I have the Blu-ray, so I don't really have to worry about that one, I guess.
Hey, me too. Makes two of us. But I will say, you mentioned Spider-Man 2. That was my first ever comic book movie. I remember.
Really,
I remember.
really.
I watched it before Spider-Man 1. Ironically, I was at.
Oh gosh, that's like watching that's like watching like the Phantom Menace after Revenge of the Sith. That's no.
I've done that.
You
That's
you you've pretty much spoiled yourself for like the second half of the first film. If
that's
like because the opening sequence, like I guess I can spoil it because it's such an old movie, but the opening sequence of that movie like pretty much shows what happens in the first movie. So you pretty much spoiled yourself there if you watched it first.
it's true. But let's just put it this way: I was 6. I was 7. I
Uh-huh.
barely had a brain, and I did not know any better. So, you watched Spider-Man 2, and I guess you recommend both movies?
I absolutely do, especially since No Way Home is coming out soon and Alfred Molina is confirmed to be in that movie because of Alfred Molina himself.
Yep.
I highly recommend watching that, and we will discuss why later on in the episode.
That's good. Spider-Man 2 is one of my favorite comic book movies of all time. I
I can see why. Yeah, I highly recommend the first two, and I do plan on watching the third one at some point later. But,
yeah. There's apparently an editor's cut of the third one that came out a few years ago. I've still yet to see it, but I have seen the
interesting.
third one.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'll talk about what I watched this week. One thing I watched. There's this film on Amazon Prime. It's free for all Prime members because it's an Amazon film, Wonder Wheel. So this film's free on Prime, despite being directed by the now, I guess you can say, somewhat controversial director to a degree, Woody Allen. It was pretty much a treat because it stars Kate Winslet as a hustling mother who lives above the sights and sounds of Coney Island, which basically reminds me of York, Maine, some town in Florida, if you want to put it that way. I don't know. It's one of my favorite parts in the movie was Jim Belushi. He played this, I guess you can say, abusive, dependent husband. He's kind of drunk. It's almost like a live action Homer Simpson, if you want to put it that way. Yeah. And I don't know. I guess his antics they were some of the highlights in the movie for me. And this is my first viewing, by the way. But one of my other favorite parts of the movie, there's this kid. I forget his name, but he's like a young boy, probably like 9 or 10 years old, and he's a troublemaker. He's up to no good. Like, this is what he does throughout the entire film. He just goes up to random things and starts fires. It's like, I don't even know what to say. It's almost like he's in his own gang. But every time he does it, for some reason, it's so weirdly hypnotizing, and I just can't help but laugh at it. This is a movie that received mixed reviews originally, which I slightly disagree with. I mean, film is subjective, I get that, but I don't know. Watching it years later, maybe I have a different perspective than other people. But that's just me. But one of the critiques I found originally was that people found it to be somewhat similar to a stage play, which I can get that. There's a narration from this guy, and he's one of the main characters. He kind of has this poetic vibe to him. But one of the other things I liked in the film was the lighting. I really liked it because there's this scene. I think there was this changing color on Kate Winslet's face whenever something heated was going on. I don't know. When I was watching the scene, it just really caught my attention, and it made me pay attention to the scene a little bit more. Yeah, it's bonkers good. That's the best way I can describe it. Yeah, so that's what I watched this week. Is there anything else that you watched this week that you want to talk about?
Well, technically last week on the Friday it came out, but I watched the new episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier because, it's coming out weekly on Fridays. I don't want to spoil the recent episode much, so I can let people watch the episode themselves, and they don't have to get spoiled. So, yeah, it's good. I'll say this: there is a mid-credits scene in this episode, so I would stay through the main credits and wait until then, and then after that, that's it. So very, very excited for this Friday's episode.
Good
Very,
advice.
very. I'm looking forward to how they will wrap up the show and what movies or TV shows they will tease, because you'll never know with the MCU.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it's changing every day. That's the best way I can put it.
It is.
Yeah, I will admit this season has. I mainly use it as background noise. I mean, as I was looking, I had higher expectations for it than I did for
Yeah.
WandaVision.
Yes,
But WandaVision,
I agree.
But WandaVision, I feel like it's better as a show, which I will say
I agree. Yeah.
I didn't particularly like WandaVision, to be completely honest, but it had the intrigue and mystery to it, and I like that. And it's always a good thing about a TV show.
Yeah.
This felt like just like a CBS drama, like almost like they're making MacGyver for Disney Plus or something.
Yeah, I was hooked on WandaVision from the very beginning. Like, I knew what I was getting into. I knew there was going to be some sitcom elements, but I wasn't expecting like the twists and turns like halfway through the series, because that's when it really got interesting. And then, all the Mephisto theories and all the, is Professor Xavier going to be the Luke Skywalker level cameo in WandaVision? But then, it turns out, it's Ralph Boner. No Peter Maximoff, like literally half the fan base thought it would be, but nope. They just had to troll us. Oh, and the other thing that Paul Bettany teased, it's that Luke Skywalker level cameo was himself, Paul Bettany, as White Vision. What trolls they are at Marvel Studios, like, geez.
Welcome to PR. Welcome to marketing.
Yep.
So say there's not really too much else I watched. I do want to talk about, because this is TV. I do want to talk about it though. There's a recent game show phenomenon. Jeopardy is doing all their guest hosts, and I watched last night Jeopardy with Anderson Cooper for the first time. I'll briefly talk about this. I will say I did a post on my blog. It's called flicknerd.com, FLICKNERD.com. You can go check it out. One of my posts I did was for my 10 picks for Jeopardy guest hosts, and one of them was Anderson Cooper. So obviously, I was pretty excited to see this. And I heard that Anderson Cooper did game shows in the past. Apparently, didn't he do The Mole? I think he did, but I can fact check that later. But it feels like, when it comes to Anderson Cooper, it feels like he's been hosting Jeopardy for 10 years, even though it was his first episode.
Yeah.
It just, he has this natural ability to be somewhat concise and calm, which I like in my Jeopardy host. I mean, the last host that was on, Aaron Rodgers, also did that really well. He was not over the top, although he did occasionally crack a joke, which I like. I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing the rest of his run. He has until, not this Friday, but next Friday, which is, today's the 20th, so 28th, 29th, 30th. I think it's the 30th. Yeah, it is the 30th. That's his last show. And then, I don't know who's after that. I know Savannah Guthrie, Mayim Bialik, Buzzy Cohen. There's a few people, but I'm liking Anderson Cooper, and if I watch him tonight, I'm going to be excited for it. So, yeah, good job, Koopy. Yeah, that's a nickname I'll go with for now, Koopy. Okay. So, anything else you watched, or is that about it?
That's about it.
We'll move on to our main topics. We selected a list of main topics that we wanted to talk about. And I think of all the main topics that we could talk about, since we started off with Spider-Man for what you watched recently, I figure it's only appropriate that we talked about Spider-Man news. So, as we mentioned, Alfred Molina recently confirmed that he will be appearing in Spider-Man No Way Home. It's the third installment to the MCU Spider-Man.
Yes.
Co-production by Sony and Disney Marvel Studios.
This is our first confirmation of Alfred Molina reprising his role as Doc-Ock from the Tobey Maguire films. Previously, if I remember correctly, this was only rumored, along with other certain characters that haven't been officially confirmed, but I think the only two main antagonists from the Spider-Man films we are getting in No Way Home is Electro and Doc-Ock.
You assume those are the only two. Okay.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's only two. I can check Wikipedia real fast, but yeah.
While you do that, I will say that I'm pretty excited for this news because, once again, Spider-Man 2 is my favorite comic book movie of all time, and part of it is because of Alfred Molina's portrayal of Doc-Ock. I mean, I will admit, I don't read many comic books, but I feel like when it comes to portraying evil, I mean, not necessarily evil, but like, I guess, deranged, broken evil, that's a good interpretation of it.
Yeah, only Electro and Doc-Ock are confirmed villains for this film.
Yep. I remember the first we heard about Electro was back in 2020, and the same with Doc-Ock, but the first confirmation we got from Alfred Molina himself was last week on Friday or so, I believe it was.
And our first confirmation of Electro was when I think Jamie Foxx accidentally posted on Instagram for like a minute and then immediately deleted it. I'm assuming because Disney didn't want him to spill the beans at the time, because they were still filming No Way Home, then titled Spider-Man 3. We didn't know the actual title until very recently.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I don't know who stopped him. Maybe Tom Holland after learning his lessons. Who knows?
Maybe.
Yeah.
It's very interesting that they teased like 3 fake titles for No Way Home until they revealed the real title, which was No Way Home. So
it's actually interesting you mentioned that. I really like that idea, not only because it was clever, but the titles that he came up with were actually pretty good. Home Slice, Home Wrecker, and what was the other one? I forget what it was.
I don't remember.
But somebody mentioned on Twitter that these titles kind of correlate to the 3 different live-action Spider-Man universes that we've gone over the years.
Home Slice equals pizza time.
Yes. Home Wrecker, like basically Andrew Garfield invading Emma Stone's life, essentially. And I forget what the other one was, but it had to do with the current cinematic universe. But either way, I liked it. It was a good marketing technique.
It really was. It's a really interesting technique. So
yeah, I hope more movies do that. Next Ghostbusters, we get Holy Ghost, Holy Mackerel, and Holy Moly.
Goodness.
Yeah, get on it, Sony. Come on, we're writing the ideas down for you. Okay, so you also wanted to talk about, speaking of upcoming movies, you wanted to talk about Space Jam 2. So you said you saw the trailer. Didn't it come out like a week and a half ago?
Yes.
Came out? Yes. So
I saw it the morning it came out. So I woke up first thing in the morning. I checked Twitter, see what was up. And Space Jam 2 was trending. And I was noticing people talking about, the cameos, and I didn't know what the heck they were talking about. So I immediately went to YouTube, and I noticed that it had the second trailer, I believe, had been posted. Actually, no, what was the second trailer or the first trailer?
The first trailer.
Because there were previously there were teasers on Twitter, but the first trailer for Space Jam 2 dropped, so watched that and was not expecting the amount of cameos in that trailer.
It feels like Ready Player One for it's made in 2021.
Yes, and I think it's made by the same studio as well, Warner Brothers.
It is.
Who knows? Maybe the characters from Ready Player One will show up. I mean, Iron Giant's in there, so that's one character from that movie.
King Kong's in there, so that's another one.
The Clockwork Orange characters from that movie can be seen in the trailer briefly, which is weird because Warner Brothers isn't allowing Pepe Le Pew in the movie for some reason, due to the recent controversy with that character, and for some reason they're allowing like guns and the Clockwork Orange characters. Like what? Warner Brothers, like, you're not allowing guns in your newest Looney Tunes shorts, yet you're letting your other characters in Space Jam 2 have guns? Like, what?
Well, it's today's world we live in. That's all I can say. I wonder if well, I will admit I'm one of those people. Space Jam is on my list of movies to see. I actually bought the Blu-ray recently, so I'm going to watch it soon. But
nice. That's so good.
Yeah.
It's such a cult classic.
I wonder if Pepe Le Pew had lines originally written in the movie. Maybe they took him out and had some other character replace his lines. I don't know. Just a theory.
I guess we'll see when the movie comes out.
Could be cool. One trailer I wanted to talk about. This came out last week. Fast and Furious 9. And
oh goodness.
Oh my gosh. They're finally going to space.
What? Hold on. What? I'm sorry. I've never seen any of the Fast and Furious films for context, so I'm like, so are they going to be in spaceships? Is Elon Musk going to show up and shoot a car up in space? Like, what's going on?
So here's the context. I only saw like 10 seconds that they even go close to explaining this, but apparently they have a car attached to some aircraft, and they have these like, I guess, yellowish space helmets, space suits, and they have rocket boosters on the car, and they're going up in the air.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if they're actually going into space or somewhere close to it, but oh my gosh.
Somewhere close to space? What do you mean? Like the International Space Station? Like what?
I mean, like maybe like the edge of the atmosphere.
Okay.
I don't know, but
that's not space. That's just air.
Yeah, exactly.
Like planes.
Yeah.
Instead of, I don't want to draw parallels to Fast and Furious and Cars, but we all know what happens when you do a spin-off film / sequel that takes place in the same universe as a movie called Cars. It has to do with air and planes and such.
I guess. Yeah.
Anyway.
I saw the trailer. John Cena is going to be in this movie, which is false advertising because we can actually see him, but, whatever.
John Cena follows me on Twitter for some reason.
Yeah, he told me that. So.
Yeah. Well, listeners may not know this.
Yeah, well.
So that's a little fun tidbit there.
Well, now they do. That's really fun. I
was randomly liking some of his posts for the Suicide Squad. That movie's still not out, I believe. I could be wrong, but
it's not.
I've been liking some of his posts from that movie, and then all of a sudden he started following me after I started sharing them, and I'm like, all right, well, not surprising there, I guess, but still surprising. Anyway, Fast and Furious.
That's true. So apparently he's going to be Dominic Toretto's brother, and apparently he's going to be like the main antagonist of the film. We see some fights with him. Of course, you got the main game back, but The Rock's not in this movie because apparently this is a thing years ago. Apparently there was some sort of beef between The Rock and Vin Diesel. I think they made up, but he won't be in this movie, which I don't think it'll hurt the box office because I mean, it's Fast and Furious.
They already have a lot of big name actors in there, so as far as I can tell.
We also got some more footage with, I forget, Han, that's his name, Han. He was in Tokyo Drift, and apparently he's back in this movie. Okay. Yes, and I'm curious to see what they do with his character. And the other funny part I liked about the trailer, apparently they have magnets now. They are using this as a weapon. They're having cars stick the magnets. That was one of the trailers. Another trailer that just came out, Shang-Chi. You want to talk about that?
Let's both talk about it.
Okay. So, what are your thoughts?
Oh my gosh, I'm curious what the Ten Rings organization might actually be, because we kind of gotten a little like taste of what they're kind of like in the Iron Man films, because we've seen their organization in those, and we've seen the fake Mandarin. So I'm very excited to see the possible real Mandarin in this one.
Yeah.
So
I noticed the 10 rings. It got me a little bit intrigued. I think I'm excited to see Aquafina in this film. I really like
yes,
her.
I wasn't expecting to see her in there. Looks like Disney's really starting to use her more in
She was in
their
Raya,
films. Yes.
Raya and the Last Dragon, which is, by the way, probably my favorite movie of the year so far.
I still haven't seen it. I think I'm waiting for that to be free on Disney Plus.
That's true. It's
still on premium access, so you can only pay like $30 to watch the movie on Disney Plus at the moment. But I think you can watch it in theaters as well.
Yeah, it's also in theaters. You can also rent it on demand right now, I think. I have Fios, so I get advertisements for it. So Shang-Chi, I'm looking forward to it. It looks pretty good. The action looks slick.
I'm wondering what will happen, since obviously we're being introduced to a crap ton of new characters in there. Geez. I mean, I don't know what to predict for this from the one trailer we've seen. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
what to expect from this one.
I mean, it only gave us a taste of what's to come, so I can't really say much myself.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna let it ride. Maybe the full-fledged trailer will come out pretty soon, and then we'll have a more concrete thought process on that. We'll see. This is week-old news that I wanted to discuss. For those of you who are in the Boston area, like myself, there was this theater that opened right by the TD Garden, known as the ArcLight. And I've been there a couple times. I went there once to see Sonic the Hedgehog, and I went there once to see Uncut Gems. And the funny thing about Uncut Gems is that it was the Boston premiere there. They had the Safdie brothers, the two people who directed the movie, show up there, which is appropriate because I think they graduated from Boston University, so it's good to get back to their roots, essentially. Kevin Garnett from the Celtics was there because he's in the movie, and also Adam Sandler was there. It was a pretty fun night. We got a little group picture with all of them. This was in 2019, before the COVID enemy, the invisible enemy, arose from the ground, rose like a phoenix from the ashes. The unfortunate thing is that theater, along with all the other ArcLight theaters, is now closed. And the pandemic is a big reason for it. And in addition to ArcLight, there's another chain, which is primarily in California, called Pacific Cinemas. I think it's almost Pacific Cinemas or Pacific Theaters, either one. But it's on from the same parent company, and those closed as well. And together they have 300 screens, which is unfortunate.
Wow.
Yeah. There was another famous movie theater. In fact, I stayed at a hotel in LA once, and I don't know if it was from my hotel room, but I think it was from the rooftop bar. There was a pretty good view we got of the Cinerama Dome. You probably know what it looks like. It's like this big circle. It's kind of like the Omni Theater.
Yes.
Yeah, but
okay.
It's like this circular screen. A lot of the film industry professionals go there. It's pretty fun. I've never been there myself, but it was on my list. When I hope someone opens it. Maybe Amazon will take over. Netflix will take over. Maybe somebody... maybe Quentin Tarantino could take it over. He owns a theater, the New Beverly Cinema, so I don't know. He's familiar with this stuff. I just hope that one lives, because that's basically a tourist attraction. Kind of like the Chinese theater is to an extent.
Yeah, and that theater is owned by Disney.
That's actually the El Capitan.
El Capitan. I was thinking of a different. Never mind.
Yeah, it's okay.
Disney can own theaters as well, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah, and I think there was a thing last year where apparently there was a Paramount decree that was I guess, dissolved to an extent. So it kind of gives studios greater permission to buy and own movie theaters, which I don't think they're going to do because that's a risky investment. I don't think they're going to be doing that unless they want to play their own movies all day. I don't know. Either way, I'm pretty sad because one, we had a new movie theater in Boston that I liked going to. Two, it was one of the more luxury-like movie theaters that I've been to in my life, and going there felt like you're going to an airport terminal. It was like the floors were, I guess, grayish, and it just felt very calming. There was some sort of vibe you got when you walked in. It felt like you were there to see a show. You weren't just there to go see the latest schlock. I don't know how else to describe it.
Yeah.
Pretty.
It's sad movie theaters are closing.
Yeah.
Due to the pandemic.
I just hope somebody takes it over. Maybe a Landmark. Because they own a lot of, well, I guess you could say indie theaters. They do a lot of independent stuff. So maybe that
Isn't Showcase Revere closing down?
Yeah, that already closed. Amazon's doing a distribution center or something over there.
Right. I miss going into that theater. I actually saw Rogue One in that theater.
That's a good
and
theater.
I still have my tickets from that night.
Nice.
Opening weekend.
My go-to movie theaters now are the AMC locations because I have A-list.
Yeah.
So I get like $22 a month, 3 movies a week for free.
Yeah.
I just have to pay for food, which I don't mind because I get discounts that add up pretty quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, same. I go to the AMC in Somerville for most of movies that I want to see, but everyone else probably won't. So, and it's easier for me because I can easily take the T to Assembly Row where that theater is. And my other theater I usually go to is Showcase Woburn or IMAX Jordan's.
Yes. Good choice. Unfortunately, they're closed. I don't think they're going to be open until maybe 100% capacity because I don't know how the profit margins are there. Another thing I want to talk about, speaking of theaters, Godzilla vs. Kong, that just crossed $80 million at the box office, which I read last week. Apparently, it crossed the domestic total for Godzilla King of the Monsters, or I don't know if it's domestic or worldwide. I could check the thing right now. I have my computer in front of me.
I still have to watch that movie. I've seen a lot of good reviews for it. I think
of Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yes.
I will say if you're looking for characters, look elsewhere. But if you want to see monsters fight, that is balls to the wall. That is something you need to watch. Godzilla vs. Kong, I think it made $386 million worldwide. I think Godzilla vs. Kong passed that. Yeah, $390 million worldwide, which I think it's insanity because you have a global pandemic where people are still afraid to go to the movie theater. You still have HBO Max distributing the movie at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. And
I think that's all from HBO Max, I feel like.
It's still on there. It'll be on until I think May 1st because it's on for 31 days.
Oh, that's next week, isn't it?
It's
a week from today.
Over a week and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, so you've got about a week and a half if you want to watch it on HBO Max. Yeah, I recommend the movie. I saw it twice. It's really good.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on, we will move on to another topic that this intrigues me. So we were talking about Vin Diesel earlier. Let's bring him up again. Vin Diesel is going to star in a Rock'em Sock'em movie, which I don't know. I like it. It feels like he's a good pick for something like that because, I mean, I'm not expecting quality, but if you just go for cheesy one-liners every other minute, it could be something watchable. And like an 80s B movie or something like that. I don't know. So I have the article from Variety up. I'm going to read it. Mattel, the popular toy company, intends to turn yet another children's game into a big screen extravaganza. The company's film division has announced plans to develop Rock'em Sock'em, the tabletop game featuring battling robots, as a live-action movie starring Vin Diesel. Hearing already early comparisons to Real Steel, which came out in 2011. Yeah, Mattel is also apparently developing. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. Actually, two things in a second.
Wait, Mattel is what now?
Hang on. Well, they're developing Barbie, which I get that. That's profitable. And it's starring Margot Robbie, because of course.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, I think that's been in development for a while. Uno is another one. Remember Lil Yachty? He's going to be making that one. And apparently, Barney, the dinosaur, I love you, you love me.
No.
Yeah, it's for real. And Daniel Kaluuya is going to be in it.
Oh, God.
Daniel Kaluuya, I think from Judas and the Black Messiah or something. Or
Didn't that show end years ago, like Barney?
Yeah, I think it ended years ago. I think the guy who played him, he apparently went to prison or something.
Oh, jeez.
Apparently he was a predator or something. I don't know the whole story.
Yikes.
I remember hearing something maybe a year and a half ago when this Barney movie supposedly was first announced, that apparently they're going to take in a new direction.
Oh, God.
Which I guess just subvert expectations, like the typical thing you do.
Oh, no.
We already getting a Clifford the Big Red Dog movie, which looks
That is true. That is true.
Looks like pure crap. So there's that.
Aren't they like? Isn't a Sesame Street movie in development still?
Are you? No, I never even heard about that. I never heard about that.
They've been developing a Sesame Street movie for years. Like, I'm not sure if that's still in development or if that's canceled, but a little tidbit there.
I had no idea, but
yeah.
I'll also go on. I actually just noticed this point in the article. Ryan Engel wrote Rampage, based on the popular arcade game, starring Dwayne Johnson and Liam Neeson's The Computer, penned the Rock'em Sock'em screenplay. I think this is actually a pretty good choice. Engel has experience with giant, well, in this case, it's going to be robots. I guess you could say Titanic monsters. So, I don't know. Could be interesting. The role of Diesel's character's son has not been cast yet, so we'll be looking on that later. Yeah, the story follows a father, Diesel, and son who form an unlikely bond with an advanced war machine. I don't know. Take my money. I am actually quite curious about this.
Okay, so Jack, you've been asking about the Untitled Sesame Street movie. So this Untitled Sesame Street movie has been in development since at least 2012, and this is all according to Muppet Wiki, by the way. It will be the franchise's third feature film following Follow That Bird in 1985 and The Adventures of Elmo and Grouchland in 1999. It is currently slated for a January 14th, 2022 release from Warner Brothers.
I mean, Warner Brothers makes sense. I think they own the IP, so...
January 2022 is actually not that far from now, actually. So...
I have not heard anything about this movie since, so I think that's just a placeholder.
Yeah, I can probably guess that it's a placeholder, since I don't really see them releasing a movie in January. I could be wrong. They could have been secretly filming this entire time, and the general public probably didn't know, but it's all on the Muppet Wiki, and everything on there is usually pretty accurate and factual. So,
well, good to know. Well, speaking of movies that have apparently been long in development, or in this case, canceled, essentially, let's talk about the Yellow Submarine remake that apparently Disney is going to do. You pointed this out to me yesterday. Apparently, there was leaked footage.
Yes.
The Yellow Submarine remake that was supposed to be directed by Robert Zemeckis of Back to the Future and Forrest Gump fame.
So, in August 2009, Variety reported that the Walt Disney Pictures and filmmaker Robert Zemeckis were negotiating to produce a 3D computer animated remake of the film. Motion capture was to be used as with Zemeckis' previous animated films, The Polar Express, Monster House, Beowulf, and A Christmas Carol. Variety also indicated that Disney hoped to release the film in time for the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. Disney and Apple Corps officially announced the remake at the inaugural D23 Expo on September 11th, 2009. This casting is interesting because they have announced casting for this film before it was canceled. Comedian Peter Serafinowicz was cast to voice Paul McCartney. Dean Lennox Kelly as John Lennon. Gary Elwes as George. And Adam Campbell as Ringo Starr. And David Tennant as the Chief Blue Mini. California-based tribute band The Fab Four was cast to perform the performance capture animation for the Beatles. And then in May 2010, Disney closed Zemeckis' digital film studio, Image Movers Digital, after unsatisfactory box office performance of A Christmas Carol. Not surprising. On March 14, 2011, Disney officially abandoned the project, citing the disastrous opening weekend results of Mars Needs Moms. Criticism toward motion capture technology was also a factor. So,
I mean, it's Robert Zemeckis. You gotta have that motion technology.
yes. So, unfortunately, this remake will never happen, but lo and behold, just yesterday, someone on Twitter posted footage of the scrapped Beatles movie. And yeah, animation stuff from the canceled animated movie that was supposed to be made by Disney of all companies, because of Robert Zemeckis, of course, which is insane to me. Like,
I mean, Zemeckis is a name, I think, in the 2000s that was less favorable than he was in the 1980s when he did Roger Rabbit and Back to the Future. To have more critiques about his motion capture stuff was not surprising, even though I will admit, as far as Christmas movies go, Polar Express is out there as one of my more nostalgic ones.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, plus, even some of his recent work, he did The Witches, which is, I think, exclusively on HBO Max. I don't know if it's anywhere else, but it was...
Or was Zemeckis?
Yeah, Zemeckis directed that. And...
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I never read the Roald Dahl book it was based off of, but it was not good. I mean, visually it was stunning. Anne Hathaway's in it, but that was probably one of her worst performances I've ever seen.
He's actually working on the Pinocchio remake of the upcoming live action Pinocchio. So that's what he's currently working on at the moment. Actually,
Disney's Pinocchio.
Yep.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tom Hanks is playing Geppetto.
Oh, okay. I mean, good actor. I like that.
Not surprising because Tom Hanks also worked on The Polar Express as half the cast. So.
And he was in Castaway. He was in Forrest Gump. So he's in a few of his movies.
Yes.
That's interesting to hear. Yeah. So
Robert Zemeckis is still involved with Disney. So.
Yeah. I mean, and like most Disney stories, they live happily ever after. So yay.
Unfortunately, not the remake, but I think it's for the best, personally.
That's good.
The original Yellow Submarine shall live on. So.
I'll say I've never really heard about this remake until you told me about it.
Yeah. I love talking about obscure Disney lost media. It's my thing.
It is something I will admit that I'm not as interested in as you, but I'm glad to hear that you enjoy that. But speaking of things that I'm interested in, I wanted to talk about it at some point, the Oscars. So the Oscars are this Sunday, April 25th on ABC, 8 p.m. Pacific time, so West Coast. One of the things that caught me a little bit off guard, I did catch the attention of some news that apparently the ceremony is going to be maskless. I actually do want to get an article up. Apparently, the producer said that masks will play a role in, quoting, I guess, the story, supposedly.
Wait, what do you mean by maskless? Like the audience will be, or
I guess performers.
Okay.
It says 2021 Oscars will be a large unmasked gathering. This is from Vulture, by the way. The team behind the Oscars has tweeted that this Sunday's ceremony, the first during the COVID-19 pandemic following 2020's February ceremony, which, by the way, that was an awesome ceremony to watch because big fan of Parasite, glad to see it won, will feel like a film rather than a television event, which that intrigues me. I'm curious to see how they pull that off. We still don't quite know what that means, but as of today, we do know that the 2021 Oscars will also count as a film production in Los Angeles, meaning audience members won't have to wear masks on air. 13 months into a pandemic, Variety first reported in the news, which was announced during an April 19th Zoom meeting for nominees and other team members. Per the meeting, attendees will need to wear masks when they are off camera, like during commercials, and the max audience capacity will be 170 people, with members rotating in between breaks. For nominees and guests to attend the ceremony, which is taking place in the Union Station and Dolby Theater, they'll need to clear 3 COVID tests along with a temperature check on the day of the event. Okay, so there are some precautions. I like that. Good job. Variety previously reported in March that the Union Station portion of the event will likely be an open-air production. Okay, I can live with. The Oscars would not be the first live awards shows to go largely maskless after last November's Country Music Association Awards, which were widely criticized for the move. The in-person Grammys took place largely outdoors and masked in Los Angeles in March, while just yesterday, on April 18th, the Academy of Country Music Awards welcomed distance, masked audiences across multiple national venues. In an April 18th press conference, as Variety also noted, Oscars producer Steven Soderbergh, who is also known for directing Ocean's 11, by the way, said masks had a very important role in the story of the film that will be this year's Oscars. Just not, the important role of preventing the spread of COVID-19.
Interesting. So I know there hasn't been a host for the Oscars for the past few years. Is there going to be one this year?
There will not be a host, no.
No.
Yeah, which I will say, regarding those past 2 years, I mean, it surprisingly worked. I was skeptical going in because I will admit that I think for a show like this, you kind of need a host. I mean, just to set the mood, but they did a pretty good job with that one. I watch a few ceremonies every year. Last year I watched Golden Globes, SAGs, Critics' Choice, and the Oscars. And the Oscars still, production-wise, they're one of my favorites. I don't know. It's just...
I think I remember watching last year's Oscars ceremony.
Yeah.
I couldn't finish watching it because, I had school the next day, so...
Yeah, I was glued to the screen that entire time. When I saw that Parasite won, I still remember my reaction because there were a few films that I wanted to take the top spot, which was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was one of them, 1917 was one of them, Parasite was another one, and then I was like, okay, that's when I heard Parasite won. First off, I thought perfect, and I had my little bitty light remote. Like if you go into my room, my bedroom, I have this light set up behind my TV where I get to change color, and I have this like million color fade mode, and I also have like this thing where colors change every second. So I just flipped the remote in the air once Jane Fonda says the word Parasite. Like, oh my gosh, mystery history's been just been made because, well, it was the first time a non-American film won Best Picture. I don't know. It's just, and I felt like it was not just one case where history was made just for the sake of history being made. It actually was genuinely a good film that I saw twice before the ceremony even started. I'm curious to see what Bong Joon-ho does next. In fact, I just watched it the other day because I'm in a film and culture class, if you want to call it that. And that was one of our films. Yeah, so... I'm a little disappointed that masks will not be utilized a little bit more, but I am glad that they are taking other precautions such as testing, temperature checks. But I will still be watching the ceremony this Sunday nevertheless.
I hope at least a majority of people attending will be vaccinated. So
yeah,
that's my concern.
yeah, that's another good point. Maybe they'll have like, I hope there's some degree of distancing. And I know that I will say one thing
Yeah.
I did not like with the other award shows this year. I understand why they did it at first, but each time they did it, I cringed. Zoom. And
Yes.
every time they cut to an acceptance speech, I could not help but just sit and wonder, what am I watching? It doesn't feel natural. It feels,
Yeah.
if anything, it feels forced. I don't know how to describe it. I mean, except for maybe Anya Taylor-Joy, who had such a genuinely interesting reaction when she received her Golden Globe for The Queen's Gambit. Everyone else just felt like robots. I don't know. I'm just excited to see live speeches again. That's just, I don't know. Maybe it's just the part of me that just wants to see some sort of normalcy. I don't know. I mean, I understand why they did it, but at the same time, I mean, they're making this feel like a movie. So I'm curious to see how they do that. And speaking of the Oscars, I do want to talk about some of my predictions. I'm not going to go over all the categories, but I'm going to go over some of them. So we're going to start off with Best Animated Feature. So I'll announce the nominees, and I'll give you my prediction. Sound good?
Okay.
And if you want to stop, and if you want to jump in at any time, let me know. So the nominees are a Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon, Onward, Over the Moon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. And I feel like the prediction here might be pretty obvious based on every other award show and critics reviews. Soul will probably be the winner for Best Animated Feature. The other thing I think might have a chance is Wolfwalkers. It's on Apple TV Plus, by the way. I saw it. It's a really good movie. It's from Cartoon Saloon. I think they are of, it's somewhere in Europe. I don't know if it's Ireland. I could be wrong, but they did this film. They apparently got Sean Bean in it. It's a really good movie about this girl who goes into this world, and there's a bunch of other people who, I guess they are anti-wolf, and then there's her who turns into a wolf, and she believes in this thing called wolf walkers, and I guess it's kind of like an equivalent to I don't even know what you call it, some sort of religious thing, but it's a really good movie, and I would recommend it to everyone here. If you don't have Apple TV Plus, either borrow a password from a friend or pay $5 a month to support the tech overlord and check it out. I also want to mention Over the Moon, which, by the way, I would not mind winning, because I saw that in the theater this year. That was life-changing, and I feel like I had such an attachment to that movie because, well, my parents, they divorced years ago, and this movie feels like a Disney throwback to an extent, but it's more relatable. It doesn't feel as otherworldly, despite how the main character goes to space. I won't go into full detail about the movie, but that is one that, if it won, I would absolutely give it some.
That movie is one of the movies you reviewed on your blog, right?
Yeah, I reviewed it, yes. And it's on Netflix if anyone wants to watch it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually directed by Glenn Keane. I think he worked on Treasure Planet, a few other Disney films as well. Actually, I don't know. Glenn Keane and John Cars, they worked on Treasure Planet, a few of the Pixar movies. Yeah, they have a lot of animation experience. So let's move on to another category. Best Achievement in Visual Effects. Love and Monsters, Mulan, Tenet, The Midnight Sky, The One and Only Ivan, which One and Only Ivan, apparently that's a Disney Plus film. I'm assuming it was supposed to go to theaters this year. I could be wrong. I think, I remember the Academy changed the rules slightly this year to allow more streaming content. And as for what I think will win, I have two, because I can't decide which one will have the better chance. First one I think is Tenet, which I want to win because, well, Christopher Nolan, he does all his visual effects for real. He actually crashed a 747 into a building, so I'd like to see that win. Midnight Sky is another one I think will win. That's on Netflix as well. George Clooney directed it, and he stars in it as well. There's I mean, it takes place in space, and Hollywood and space movies, when it comes to visual effects, they go together like bread and butter. I mean, First Man won Best Visual Effects at the 2019 Oscars. I think Gravity won Best Visual Effects, and I think I was nominated for Best Picture as well. Interstellar won Best Visual Effects, another Christopher Nolan movie, by the way. So, if it wins, I will not be surprised. I mean, Mulan might have a chance, but I think barely. Best Cinematography. So, here are the nominees for Cinematography. Judas and the Black Messiah. Sean Bobbitt. Mank. Eric Messerschmidt. News of the World. Dariusz Wolski. Nomadland. Joshua James Richards. And The Trial of the Chicago 7. Fedon Papamichael. I think I said his name right. So what I think will win is Nomadland, because the way they shot that film. Okay, so here's the interesting thing. So, Billy, how familiar are you with Nomadland?
Nomadland?
Yes.
Not familiar at all.
Okay, so
I know nothing.
Yeah, so part of that movie, it stars Frances McDormand, but much of the cast in that film is actual people. There's this woman named Swanky, and that's her real name in life. There's a bunch of other people who they play characters, but they're actually themselves, essentially. It's kind of a mix of a documentary. It's a mix of
it's kind of like the Seth Rogen movies.
Seth Rogen.
Not Seth Rogen. It's the movies with like James Franco and Seth Rogen.
Like This Is the End or something?
Yeah, movies like that where they kind of play at parody versions of themselves.
No, because I think Frances McDormand plays this character, but they, instead of hiring actors to play everybody else, by the way, this is based on the book, just so you know.
Oh, gotcha.
They have the actual people coming in. It's actually kind of interesting because they shot it almost as if it were like a documentary. There were many beautiful environment scenes. I really liked that. It felt like a mix of a YouTube video meets a documentary meets a movie. And I don't really see movies like that. So I would not be surprised if it wins. The other possibility is Mank, if you ask me. Shot in black and white. The way it was presented in terms of editing, it almost felt like you were watching the script being written as you were watching the film, which doesn't really count towards cinematography, but it kind of meshes together. If you see the movie, it kind of makes sense. Excuse me. So that could be one. That could be a possibility. If I had one that I think I would want to see win, I think Nomadland would be my pick, but we'll see what happens. Actually, you know what? I do want to go back to best music. I want to go mention all the movies, but I do want to mention that I think Soul will win it because apparently Soul has been winning all of the major awards. I won the Golden Globe for it, and if you remember, did you see the Golden Globes this year?
I have not.
There was a clip. Tracy Morgan was presenting the award, and instead of calling it Soul, I think this is for the best score category. He refers to it as Sal.
Sal.
So, Sal Volcano, if you officially won the Golden Globe. Yeah, well done. The Impractical Jokers finally made it. They won a Golden Globe. Okay, so let's move on to our next category. Let's go to Best Adapted Screenplay. Here are the nominees. Borat subsequent movie film, aka Borat 2, Nomadland, One Night in Miami, The Father, and The White Tiger. So I think Nomadland will take this one as well. Because once again, based on a book that people have primarily not heard of, but they kind of took it in a direction that I guess was different for the screen. If all the real people meets Frances McDormand at the same time, it's just, I don't know, it's just different. I mean, everything else supposedly feels like an actual movie, maybe except for Borat, which I will admit I did not see. I saw One Night in Miami, which it's okay. The Father, nobody saw it. The box office is not great on that film. You know, I heard Anthony Hopkins is great in it. White Tiger, I did not see either. So my pick is Nomadland. Let's see. Best Original Screenplay. Judas and the Black Messiah. Minari. Promising Young Woman. Sound of Metal. The Trial of the Chicago 7. I think Aaron Sorkin for The Trial of Chicago 7 will take this one, partially because Well, as far as I'm aware, Aaron Sorkin is one of the better screenwriters in Hollywood. I've not seen Trial of Chicago 7, so I can't say much on the film itself, but pretty interesting film in terms of its timeliness, and plus, once again, Aaron Sorkin, he wrote The Social Network, he wrote Molly's Game. He has this distinct style that he brings to the table that I think a lot of people enjoy. So I think that between the strength in numbers and experience and what I've heard about this film, I think he's going to take that one. I would not mind seeing Promising Young Woman win because that was pretty subversive. I saw that one time. It was very well written. I keep recommending it to people. They want a well written movie. So, yeah, that would be my pick. But again, that's the one I saw. I also like Sound of Metal, which I'll get to that later. Minari, I saw that as well. That was very well written, so I would not mind seeing that win either. So let's move on to Best Director. Best Director. Let's see. Chloe Zhao, Nomadland. David Fincher for Mank. Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. Lee Isaac Chung for Minari. Thomas Vinterberg from Another Round. I saw all of these except for Another Round. I'm sure Thomas Vinterberg is a nice guy. I don't think he'll win. I feel like not many of the Academy voters actually saw that one. I think Nomadland will take it. Partially because, first off, it's Chloe Zhao, woman director, and that probably, I guess the progressive age we're in was probably going to help with that. Plus, I will say she did a really good job at handling the movie's style and mixed with substance. I don't know, she just took something very small and made it big. I like that. Let's move on to the next category. Let's go to Best Supporting Actress. Amanda Seyfried, Glenn Close. Okay, well, Amanda Seyfried's in Mank. Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy. Maria Bakalova for Borat 2. Olivia Colman for The Father. Yeah, Jung Yeon for Minari. I hope I pronounced that right. I hear Maria Bakalova is doing pretty well this season, but I would not mind seeing Amanda Seyfried win either. I think she had the best performance in Mank, so I would not mind seeing her win. Let's go to Best Supporting Actor. Daniel Kaluuya, Judas and the Black Messiah, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, he was in that. So the guy in the Barney movie. Lakeith Stanfield. Yeah. Lakeith Stanfield from Judas and the Black Messiah. Leslie Odom Jr. From One Night in Miami. Paul Reese from Sound of Metal. Sacha Baron Cohen from The Trial of the Chicago 7. Wow, this one actually was a pretty hard one to choose, but based on recent statistics, I chose Daniel Kaluuya. I think he won the Golden Globe, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, I would pick him. But if I had to go back, Leslie Odom Jr. was pretty good as well. I would not mind seeing him win. Let's go to Best Actress. Here are the nominees. Andra Day from The United States versus Billie Holiday. It's on Hulu. Carey Mulligan from Promising Young Woman. Frances McDormand in Nomadland. Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman. Viola Davis in Ma Renee's Black Bottom. My pick is Carey Mulligan. I think she played a character that I can't really see any other actress playing, to be completely honest. It was in Promising Young Woman. So I would not mind seeing her win. She brought life to the role that was clearly subversive. It was just, I don't know, it was gritty, but also kind of fun at the same time. I like that. I've also been hearing good things about Vanessa Kirby, so she's a possibility. Viola Davis, I hear, is another possibility. So I think those two are the runner-ups for me. Best Actor, here are the nominees. Anthony Hopkins in The Father. Chadwick Boseman in Ma Renee's Black Bottom. Gary Oldman in Mank. Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal. And Steven Yeun in Minari. Now, I'm going to do two things here. What I think will win, and what based on what I saw, hope will win. Because I want to talk about it. Chadwick Boseman, I think, will win. I've not seen...
gosh, I hope so.
Well, let me just say, I have not seen this movie, so I can't say much about it. And I would not mind seeing him win.
I just want Chadwick to get an Oscar, even though he unfortunately passed during the pandemic.
I have still... I still have not seen Ma Renee's Black Bottom on Netflix, so I can't say much about it. But I hear he's really good in it. So good luck to him. But
Also, I love Riz Ahmed, but Chadwick, I feel like Chadwick would I think deserve an Oscar for this year.
well, that's funny you mentioned Riz Ahmed because I saw Sound of Metal, one of my favorite movies of the year. Riz Ahmed killed it. I loved him in that movie. Like, he was bonkers, balls to the wall. I guess you could take Miles Teller and Whiplash, make him deaf, and he just goes crazy. It's insanity. I don't know what else to say about it. I lost my mind every other scene. As he lost his. Same with his hearing. Plus, he had to learn sign language. He had to learn drumming. There's a lot to his role that I began to appreciate. I loved it. Okay, so let's move on to Best Motion Picture of the Year.
Ooh.
Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, The Father, and The Trial of the Chicago 7. Now, once again, I'm going to do what I think will win and what I want to win. I'll start with what I want to win. Sound of Metal. I had such a great time with this movie. I saw it online because I got a free screening from Amazon, and I think it was from Amazon. I mean, they made the movie, so it makes sense. But it was one of those movies that it felt like an experience, and more than anything else. It was loud. It was well acted across the board. It was well written. I mean, once again, it's about a drummer who goes deaf. So I think, if anything, it's a good story for a Best Picture winner. And the way it was executed was very well done. I liked it. So I hope that one wins. But I think Nomadland is going to take it, partially because of the numbers game, as I'll call it. It won Venice. It won Toronto. It won the Golden Globes. It did not win the SAG for Best Ensemble, but I'm pretty sure it won Best Picture at the Critics' Choice Awards. It won a lot of things. I think based on statistics, and numbers don't lie, Nomadland is going to take Best Picture. For us, some of the best reviews of the year, so I would not be surprised. And if it wins, congratulations. I will support it because I saw the movie and I did like it. So, yay. I will support that if Nomadland wins. What I want to win, Sound of Metal. What I think will win, Nomadland. Either way, the industry wins. So, bravo. Okay, so those are my predictions for the Academy Awards. Hopefully they figure out that mask thing, but until then, I wish them a happy ceremony. You wanted to talk about Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
We'll make that our last topic of the day. But before we do that, I just want to warn everybody. You said that, based on what you wanted to say, that there may be spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you want to confirm right now. There will be spoilers, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if everyone listening to this does not want to hear what happens in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, log off right now so you don't have to hear that. But if you are interested in any of our plugs, I go to say go to flicknerd.com and subscribe to my movie review vlog. Check that out right away. Go follow Real Scene Before on Instagram. Go to subscribe to Jack Drees on YouTube. Millie, anything you want to plug to the people who are tuning out right away?
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at me_Halprin. Where I post a lot of Star Wars content because that's my forte, and also some other Disney stuff. And I also have a Instagram, and my Instagram handle is Millie_Halprin, so that's my name. And I mainly post cosplay content on that account, so.
Well, that's fantastic. Okay, so for everyone tuning out, hope you had a good listen. And for everyone staying in, the party's just about to start. So, Millie, you wanted to talk about this, so I want to ask, do you want to talk about episode 5, or do you want to talk about episode 4? What do you want to talk about, the whole series?
Do you want to talk about the episode 4 and 5 because they interconnect?
Okay, I'll let you take the wheel. So, what are your thoughts?
So, So we all know in episode 4 of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, after John Walker's sidekick dies due to Aaron Kellyman's character, Carly, basically kicked him and murdered him. John unfortunately wasn't able to save his partner, Battlestar, and he got so pissed. One of the Flag Smashers, I think, or both of them, ran off into the streets, and he managed to catch one of them, and unfortunately, and he was the one who said, "Oh, I look up to Captain America so much," and he got caught by Captain America and was pinned down on the ground and was literally looking up at Captain America before his unfortunate death. And I felt, and I didn't realize this until like afterwards, where my brother and I were talking about the episode, and things got really bloody episode 4. Like, jeez.
I mean, it's Disney. It's kind of surprising to see all that blood.
Yeah. Thank goodness next episode the government's like, yeah, you're not going to be Captain America anymore after what happened. And John Walker wasn't happy, and they took away the Captain America position from him. But thankfully, Sam and Bucky got the shield from him after fighting him, and Sam finally trained with the shield after he's like, you know what, I think I'll actually train with the shield instead of, giving it to the government willy-nilly, letting someone else take the shield.
Yeah, I mean...
And the home training montage was really satisfying. We also got a little bit of Sam and Bucky stuff at Sam's place with his sister, which was really nice.
Yeah, I like that. I will say my initial impressions of Falcon and the Winter Soldier overall, I think, once again, it feels like a CBS drama, but they just shot it in still widescreen with a few cool action scenes here and there.
I do want to say, so before the episode came out, last week's episode, there was supposed to be the surprising cameo that was supposed to happen in the episode, and it turns out the lady in purple, we see her talking with John Walker and his wife. Apparently, the character was supposed to show up in Black Widow first before the pandemic delayed the movie, and now we're getting the movie in July. So
yeah, so I don't know, maybe they shot that during COVID.
Yes, I think they shot it before and during COVID.
Yeah, I think they started it in COVID, before COVID, because I remember the Super Bowl in 2020. They did all the ads for the Disney Plus Marvel shows, and I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier was the big one that they were trying to show off.
I think they only showed WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier. I don't think they showed Loki, because I don't think they didn't start filming Loki till like August of last year, I believe.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because I think, if anything, Disney Plus, but when it comes to the Marvel shows on Disney Plus, WandaVision was definitely not supposed to be the first show that they show off. Although, if there was a show that they could have shown off first, I guess that was a good one. Based on, I guess, it got me to keep my money on the service.
Yeah, so. I believe Falcon and Winter Soldier was so I think it was Black Widow, Falcon and Winter Soldier, then WandaVision, I think, later on.
Black Widow was supposed to come first because May. I think it was supposed to come
because WandaVision is supposed to be connected to Doctor Strange 2, Multiverse of Madness, Spider-Man No Way Home, and Loki, because of the whole TVA deal in that show, and that has to deal with the multiverse. So
you soon get more info. So episode 6 comes out Friday. Do you assume we'll get any end credit scenes?
Oh, absolutely. I think I'm seeing a pattern where in the second to last episode and the last episode of the Marvel shows we've been seeing so far, I feel like we might get 2 credit scenes, because in WandaVision, we got the scroll, I believe.
Yeah, I believe we did that, yeah.
Mid-credit scene, and then the post-credit scene was Wanda in her cabin, and we saw her wielding the Darkhold.
Yeah, I remember some. Yeah, I remember start off in the cabin.
So I feel like we might get to. I think we might get a mid and post credit scene in the last episode of WandaVision if the patterns are true. And
in WandaVision, don't you mean Falcon and Winter Soldier?
Oh no, yeah, Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean.
Yep. Yeah, I would not be surprised if we see one either. I mean, Marvel is known for that stuff, so I'm looking forward to the final episode. I will admit that if I had to choose one series I would watch on a Friday night again, like binge through, I'd choose WandaVision at this point.
Yeah.
But I'm intrigued to see what this finale will be, or how it will present itself.
I have a feeling. So remember when Zemo gets taken away by the Dora Milaje in Sokovia? He's apparently going to the raft where, for those who don't know, in the MCU, that's where Sam, Clint, and Wanda ended up after Civil War, where they got arrested after the events of Civil War, and they were detained briefly before they were released by Steve. And I believe in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., some of the bad guys in that show were detained in there, but apparently Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't canon to the MCU anymore, so I don't think that's relevant. I don't know. I stopped watching that show after like the first 2 seasons, so I have no idea.
Wait, no, it's no longer canon. Yeah. I didn't hear this. When did they announce that?
I don't know. My friends told me this, so, and they're more into that show than I am, so I just go by what they say. But yeah, so Zemo getting arrested and being detained in the raft may or may not indicate a MCU Thunderbolts setup, because if I remember correctly, I think General Ross is still in charge of that raft facility. And in the comics, I believe Thunderbolt Ross, he basically started that, or I mean, they named the team after him. So
yeah, I'm not.
Who knows?
Yeah. Let's see.
We'll see what the last episode will unfold for us.
Yeah.
So
I might. Who knows? We all stay up at 3 a.m. to watch it because
yes,
it drops at midnight on the West Coast.
Yes. I also forgot one thing. The mid-credit scene for this episode, John Walker making his own cap shield.
Oh yes, that was.
That was
weird. That was interesting to watch. I'll just say that for sure.
That was interesting.
It felt very bold. It was. It builds
feel
up
like
anticipation.
That itself is setting up a U.S. agent, because, yeah, they never really called John Walker in the show U.S. agent so far. I feel like he might call himself U.S. agent even though he's not like affiliated with the government anymore and not Captain America anymore. So
we shall see. We shall see. Yeah, we got 1 episode left. And
who knows if he'll even call himself U.S. agent, but
yeah,
you never know with the MCU.
I believe that is all the topics we had to talk about today. So, Millie,
yes,
good to talk with you. No, there's anything else you want to plug before we go, or?
Well, you can follow me and my friend's Star Wars blog, HoloNet Marauders. You can, again, like I said at the very beginning, you can follow us at HoloNet Marauder on Twitter and www.holonetmarauders.com. And everything is on that website. Lots and lots of Star Wars content in there if you're into Star Wars.
That's great. Yeah, so as for me, I will also just say, if you are interested, I mentioned the flicknerd.com. Once again, follow me on flicknerd.com, FLICKNERD.com. I also mentioned they have a Facebook page. You can go to Facebook, type in Scene Before. You'll see my face holding a bunch of Blu-ray cases. That's the one. Go follow it if you want to see more of my content behind the scenes on Scene Before, aka flicknerd.com. Check it out. That being said, Millie, pleasure to have you here today as my co-host for the first episode of CINEOLOGY. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I'm Jack Drees. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.
You have just listened to CINEOLOGY. a Melrose Massachusetts Television production. You can find Melrose Massachusetts Television on Facebook and Twitter at MMTV3, on Vimeo at vimeo.com/MMTV3, on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/MMTV3, on YouTube at youtube.com/user/MelroseMATV. And if you want to learn more, go to mmtv3.org.